Dude, is it working?
No, blow again.
Seriously, what Blockbuster did you get this from?
I think it's working. It's working. Yes.
Phew. You've logged into the 3-Bit Gamer Show. Welcome to the 3-Bit Gamer Show. I'm JD.
This is Peterson.
Spencer here. A very hearty
Sega.
welcome to the
No.
Idiot Cast.
Okay.
These guys. So our producer Dylan recently,
Bless his heart.
Recently, just this episode, decided that I am responsible enough that I can I can run the sound effects for the podcast.
No,
That's
we
a
don't
huge
So the first thing I
extrapolation
did
there.
was Google fart button, and here we are.
This is not it. I'm gonna make us redo the intro if you keep this up. Listen, he did it just for the Sega sound, and then JD
Which worked brilliantly.
Played a 45-second fart track.
Which, in my defense, you guys laughed through the entirety of.
Of course.
Which
the fart track.
totally justified it.
And Spencer just leans back and goes, "Yeah, I'm really into the fart stuff. I think it's good."
It hits all the right notes.
It hits all the right notes.
I love it.
Oh my gosh, I can't.
Well,
I also love the setup. I love all the little toys we have here now.
Yeah, we got some things.
If
Going
you guys are
on.
listening now,
get us in the mood.
we've also got a VOD of this that goes up on Thursday. So
That's
if you
weird.
want to see
What does that mean?
A video on demand. So if you want to
Hooray.
see where the magic happens, our cool, cute little studio, our nice poster, how ginormous Spencer actually is.
Yeah.
How ridiculous Jim Halperson is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Peterson cannot stop hamming for the camera, so you'll get some of those moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great.
So let's get in. Spencer, tell us about your adventures this week.
Tuesday, February 13th, 2018 was one of the best days of my entire life.
Oh my gosh.
Ever.
Why?
So great.
You know it's going to be dumb. So Spencer, tell us about it.
No, it's
I'm
not gonna
pretty
be dumb
excited
at
for it to
all.
be dumb.
So it started out, to set it up, we were actually going to go to the airport. My wife and I are adding to our 4-legged family. We purchased a new pet dog named Marge to go with our current French bulldog named Homer. So now we have
Homer and
The
Marge.
long con.
Real clever.
40% of the Simpsons family.
Are you going to get some more?
No, 2 dogs is plenty.
Okay.
That's 8 legs, 16 little pads. It's a lot.
16 little pads. Is that how you answer? Hey, what you tell me about your family? We got, let's see, 8 legs, and then we've got, and people are just,
It's just all the demographics, John.
just talking legs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Legs and pads.
And make them figure it out.
You know those weird little thumbs they have right here?
Yes.
Do you know those are they use those, right?
For
If you ever watch a dog that's like running really fast, and I've seen videos of it online, when they are like turning fast like this, and they have their paws basically flat out,
all thumbs.
yeah, that catches, and they use that for traction. So like that, it's not like a vestigial. What is it?
Vestigial.
Vestigial.
Yeah, very nice.
Like thing. They actually
nice.
use the dogs use that little thumb.
Well, I'm glad they can stop with theirs because with these, we've slowly taken over the world. So
Yeah, nice thumbs, dogs.
Idiots.
Yeah, how many times have you been in
Those
the
are
moon?
dumb.
that's why
We
you're
went
living in
7
my
times,
house
then we
and I'm
stopped.
not living in your house.
That's enough. That's enough times.
So
okay, yeah.
that's the premise. Okay.
Okay, the dog is the premise.
Dog is
Alright.
the premise. Dog's always the premise. Going to the airport, your typical checking in, this. We get through security and walk into the gate. We're a little bit behind typically.
Are you pretty crammed in those microwave feedback machines when you have to put your hands up at the airport?
Yeah,
you
like,
have
is
no
it-
idea. You
is
have
it
no
pretty?
idea.
Is it not spacious at all?
No.
He's touching the
Not
top
only
of
is it
it.
not spacious,
He like scrapes his head across the top.
the concept of air travel for someone my size is just a total nightmare.
He comes out of the machine and they're like, "Hold on, we gotta wand your head. It didn't get your
yeah,
head."
yeah. Can
We
you
didn't quite catch
squat
that.
and then we'll do it again?
Hey, we need the stool over here. We need the stool.
It's
Got
ridiculous.
another one.
Well, it doesn't end there because the airplane itself is just horribly designed for
Oh.
efficiency.
I think the seats are perfect size.
Yeah, for idiots. They're idiot size. Anyway, so we're walking like pretty briskly through the airport terminal, and I remember this specifically, walking to the left, I saw a flight was boarding for Calgary, and I was like, who in the world goes to Canada in the middle of winter? Like, how is there
Canadians,
anybody
likely.
on that flight? And so we're sitting there
entirety
walking.
of Canada just migrates south.
Yeah.
Fuck this. It's too cool.
Nope. Nope. I'm going south.
I'm out.
Mm-mm.
Okay, I wanted a good pause because this is again one of the best moments of my whole life.
I apologize.
I didn't want you two diluting it. I still can't even I'm floating thinking about how great this was. So I see the Calgary thing. I make the Canada comment just internally in my head, and then I turn to my right, and no closer than our good friend here, John.
So like
Peterson,
within arm's reach.
within arm's reach,
Which is like 6 feet away for Spencer.
he stands up, and it's Ken Block. Ken Block.
Ken
No
Block?
way.
Yes.
You met Ken
What?
fucking Block?
Okay.
Yep.
Dude, wait, who's Ken Block?
Yeah, hold on. I'm Googling it.
It doesn't even matter. You can't.
Does matter.
You can't.
Ken Block, the
you can't turn it
professional
down.
rally driver from the Hoonigan Racing Division, formerly known as the Monster World Rally Team? That the same Ken Block?
Same Ken
the
Block.
very Ken. I can't even say it.
How'd you recognize
That's your
this dude? He
hero?
just looks like a white dude with a beard.
How do I recognize this
And
dude?
he's got a monster hat,
With a
so
mon-
like
was
any
he
guy
wearing
that drives a
monster gear?
Nissan
I've been watching this guy
Any
for
guy in northern
over a
Utah with a big
decade.
truck.
trucker, and he's got the monster logo on the back.
Yeah, on the back.
Imagine loving an energy drink that much. Okay,
We're
tell
gonna
us,
give him a
tell us
monster.
why, tell us why
Nope.
Ken Block.
I'm
is,
just gonna sit and enjoy
know.
it. I'm in a self
I know,
gong
but what?
and just enjoy it. I
Why-
don't even care.
Okay,
I don't care.
Here's the thing, and this is not on us. This is on you. You never tell us about your interests outside of video games. I did not know you liked rally drive. Like you followed
I knew he
rally
liked
driving
that.
enough.
And I've consistently made fun of him for it.
I didn't know that. I've known you for years. I did not know you were into rally driving. I know you liked those dirt games, but I like Spider-Man games, and I don't like web swinging around New York.
Well, there's a difference between possibility and reality
I
here.
see no difference.
One of the best follows on Facebook. Free plug. I would love if they're going to be a future sponsor of the show.
They won't.
Teaser.
Because there's no money in rally car. Keep going.
World Rally Championship, WRC. They're cranking out content. Not only is it great racing content, it's a tour of the countries with which they visit.
Oh, man.
So a little cultural tourism.
Man,
And
oh, man.
you get some drone technology employed there because DJI sponsors WRC.
Well, that's exciting for you that you got to meet this guy. What's
Yes.
his name again?
Not even going to say
Ken
it.
Block.
You got to meet Ken Block, who's
Yep.
your hero.
Yes.
Apparently.
I mean, to be 100% honest, I'm not really into like celebrity. Like, I don't really see people and like, holy crap, that's somebody.
But Block you did.
This guy, I'm
you talk to
still
him?
floating. Yeah, of course I talked to him.
Did you shake his hand?
Yes,
Did you
I
take a picture with him?
no,
Didn't
because
happen.
he was
Didn't
super
happen.
freaked out.
Wait, you didn't get a picture with him?
He was on the plane going to Canada, and
You got on the plane with him?
and I don't want to be weird, but I already knew that because he'd been announcing it on Instagram. Like, so I didn't want to be like, hey, I know exactly where you're going. Ken Block, again, with his YouTube content and stuff like that, anybody who has never heard of Ken Block and is a complete
So most people.
idiot,
Nope, you can't say that.
like John Peterson,
You can't say that. You've never heard
Can't-
of
you
a
can't say that.
national
Can't
food
say
of
that.
a country.
nope. Go look up his Jim Kahana video series, one of the top performing YouTube series ever. So
Awesome.
good.
Cool.
What's cool about rally driving? Like,
What isn't cool about rally
you
driving?
driving cars around the dirt. I have never really
It's
watched
like
it.
little hatchbacks.
Like WRXs and
little
stuff?
hatchbacks, like drifting around corners in the dirt.
Do they
that what
follow
it
one
is?
driver, or do they just have like corner cams and like?
There's tons of different versions of rally driving. The WRC specifically is a staged rally event, so that means you have a set course going from point A to point B out in the wilderness somewhere, and they'll just do like a shotgun start. So one person will go a prescribed amount of time later, the next person will go, et cetera, and you're just doing a time. You're not necessarily racing each other in a straight head-to-head race. It's a stage event, so whoever gets the best
Yeah.
time over the stages.
Yep.
But they do have rally cross events. That's more like motocross or something like
Hatchbacks
that.
doing jumps.
Hatchbacks in stadiums, the Hatchback Stadium Tour.
Oh man.
Have you seen that video that Rally WRX goes over that dog that just wandered on the course?
No.
It goes over a jump and the dog's just wandering, and it just jumps right over the dog and lands and drives off, and the dog's like, huh? And just like wanders right off the course.
Huh.
Like, Huh. That was loud.
I didn't know that existed.
And interesting.
Interesting.
Anyway,
Well, congrats on meeting
yeah.
Ken.
You
Bullock.
shook his hand. Like, how much physical contact was there?
So
Did you hug him?
that I wanted to so bad. That was the problem. Is he was getting up to go get on the plane to Calgary, and we were like hurrying down to our gate because we were a little bit behind. And so it was one of those things. Like again, weird Canada thing. Holy crap! There's my like lifetime idol just standing like right there. And I know this is stupid and it's going to come across weird. I hope we tag him in the podcast. He has a house up in Park City, Utah.
Okay.
He lives here locally. That's where he has his mountain works.
It's the best place in the world.
And every single time we drive up to my wife's parents' house that's in Heber City, which is on the other side of Park City to Salt Lake, I wave hi to Ken Block because, I know he's there sometimes.
You really do, too.
Did you tell him
I
that?
do.
Did you tell him?
Nope.
You got to tell him. I'm going to tell him.
Dude, no. He's easing in. He doesn't want to spook him.
Yeah.
It's that like I said, that's super spooky, but this is kind of too late in terms of spooking him because when I stopped, like again, we were going pretty quick. I'm a relatively large individual, and I basically used my vestigial appendages to stop like holy crap, stop. Like he stands
I got
up.
these thumbs on my wrists.
Yeah, I stop. I turn around. I'm like, I don't want to be weird, but I'm like your biggest fan ever. I just really wanted to say
Was
hi.
he receptive? Was he like into that?
Was he cool about it?
As soon as I stopped, he's like, "What was going on?" Like
why is this giant red-headed man attacking?
Oh,
like,
no.
He
Not
kind of got
again.
freaked out. I'm like, "Hey, again, I don't want to be weird. Super sorry, but I just think you're awesome." He's like, "Okay, cool, thanks."
And that was it?
Because we were like, it was
You
just
blew
going
it.
just like
you
this.
blew it, though.
No, that was
know,
that
dude.
was
I
my
gotta
best
say-
celebrity encounter I've ever had because I've had some stinkers.
What's your worst? What's your worst?
Yeah, now I got to know.
So my first one that I really cared about, the Palm Restaurant, Washington, D.C., 1999. Tony Kornheiser sits down.
Who the fuck are all these people?
He's a radio sports guy.
Kornheiser legit sounds like a fake name.
Nope.
That sounds like the fakest fake name I've ever heard.
It's not. I think it's an excellent like Jewish stage name.
Kornheiser.
Tony, and his name's Tony.
And he was a dick?
Yeah. He was a super big dick. Like I was like pretty young at the time, like young enough that it could have
not
worked.
cool.
And he was like, I mean, he was at dinner, so that's a fair point. But I was like, Mr. Kornheiser, I really like your
buddy.
stuff. And he's like, hey, shut up, go away, kid. And I was like, oh.
Oh, no.
I feel like maybe that's inherent to sports talk. Do you think Jim Rome would have been receptive to that?
I hope he would have. If you would have gone up to Jim Rome, again, I listened to Jim Rome on the way to this recording today. If you would have gone up to Jim Rome and with the like appropriate lingo, because like his group, his clones, so to speak, like his fandom has their own language. And if you were to speak that language, he's down because it's a cool thing to do.
But if you just went up, you're like, I recognize you.
I recognize you. I mean,
this
this guy's what, like Tony Kornheiser's like an E or a D list celebrity.
Yeah.
And out at a nice fancy restaurant, man, uncle, I thought it'd be nice, and nothing.
Dude.
Okay, so that was strike one. Strike two. This is in 2010, Boston. You're going out to dinner or going out to lunch in Boston. Who do you see? Famous Boston comedian Dane Cook, probably out with some underage skank.
Oh, shots fired.
Yeah, eat it, Dane Cook. And
Obviously, we have not a Dane Cook fan here.
used to be.
I am on the edge of my seat.
So
For Dane, I think the end of the story is Dane Cook was a dick to you, and I didn't know this. Please continue.
well, again, hindsight, right? Hindsight's 2020. Looking back, it was also during a mealtime. It was lunch. Me and my wife were just finishing up. Him and some random chick sit down for lunch. And I was like, oh, dude, this is going to be amazing. Like, I get to talk to Dane Cook on the way out. Went over and I was like, hey, I'm really sorry. I don't mean to interrupt your meal. Just want to say hi. Just get your autograph real quick. Like, we're really big fans. And he just like he's like, no, I mean, like maybe later. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh.
Not more than
Sad.
5 minutes later, like just horribly dejected, we're walking around outside, and Dane Cook is taking pictures with like just this group of girls, like as many girls as he can get his hands on, and he like stopped everything because this group of skanks walks over.
Okay, so I gotta step in. This one's on you, because you are a Dane Cook fan. Full stop. That's
Dude,
on
at
you.
the time, he was white hot. He was coming off of being white hot.
His albums, like when he drops like after his second album or something like that.
So this was like just he went from white to red to maybe like just warm to the touch hot. He'd come down, but he was still pretty hot.
Well, don't be so,
Okay, well, I'm gonna leave Dane Cook off this one because that guy sucks anyway. But I'm just gonna go ahead and throw Tony Kornheiser in our shit list along with Karl Malone.
Yeah. Karl
Two
Malone.
guys, we're gonna put them up on this board,
We're gonna put him up.
and you're not allowed in the studio. Karl Malone and
We're
Tony
never gonna have
Kornheiser.
you on the show.
You're off. You are on the blacklist.
Blacklist
You are
from
blacklisted
the
by the
show.
3-Bit Gamer Show podcast.
But for reals, if Karl Malone came, I'd love to have him on the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, if Karl Malone,
The blacklist
contacted
has
me,
been laid down.
and he
The
was like,
blacklisted.
Doubly for reals, if Tony Kornheiser stops by, he can suck an egg. I don't even care. Like, holy crap. That was so bad.
Jim Rome TBD.
Dude,
Yeah,
no,
we'll
no,
see-
no,
we'll see
Jim
where we're
Rome
at
can
on
have
Jim
my
Rome.
seat. I will like put down my coat so he can walk across the puddle to get here. I would love to have Jim Rome on this show.
So let's talk about some video games.
All right,
We've
let's
covered
talk
rally
about
racing
video
and
games.
So
Jim
everyone's
Rome.
here.
But let's do some video games because that's what
Rally
we're here
video
for.
games?
Nope.
That's too bad.
What we were talking. So this came to me because we were Jenna and I were putting together. We have 2 spare bedrooms. So we have a 3-bedroom house. I use one as an office. She uses one as her studio, and then we have our bedroom.
Yep.
And her studio is kind of a mess, and she wanted to clean it up and make it cleaner and nicer, whatever. And so one of the things that was making it a mess is that I had a bookcase full of DVDs.
Sure.
And I realized I moved in a year ago.
Like DVD movie DVDs.
Yes. And I moved in a year ago, and I have not watched. I put them all out, put them in alphabetical order. I organized them by genre,
Yep. As we do.
as we do. And
Some of us.
And I never watched one.
No.
In a year. I realized I moved in on October, and it's been a year plus since October, and I never watched a single DVD. I'm done. And so I was like, well, I'm going to box them all up, throw them in my garage. And then I'm like, that's asinine, because at that point I might as well just throw them away. Because if I seriously want to watch a DVD, I'm not going to go digging through my garage for it.
Run out
For
to
a
your
piece
garage.
of plastic.
So the end of this thought process was, I'm just going to get a big old CD case, because who is attached to DVD cases? I'm not. I'm like, why? How did they con us into this?
It's a lot of plastic.
So I realized that not only was I going to do this, I have like 120 some odd DVDs, which is like an okay, with my Blu-rays and my DVDs. So this is everything. And then I realized, you know what? I'm just going to do the same thing, because my game cases are taking up this much space. And a lot of my games, the only reason to hang on to the case is because you might resell it. And
That's fair.
or like a collector's
As a
item.
collectible.
But who's sitting around? Most of the games I have, the bulk of my collection is Xbox 360 games, as far as disc games, like the vast majority.
Yep.
And I'm like, who's like collecting Xbox 360 games?
Every once in a while, you get a ping from the old Utah retro gamers.
Oh, those guys are
Hashtag Utah
Those
RG.
guys, anything that's older than like 3 years, are like, yeah, I'll start collecting it.
Yeah.
Those guys just
I
love
need
to
one of
collect
those.
video
I need
games.
one of those.
Everyone's
This
fetishizing it.
is a group that we did an interview with these guys a couple months back at Comic-Con. I follow that Facebook page obsessively.
Yeah, it's
and
super cool.
this ties into our segment, because they collect retro games, and they collect them from the PS2 to the Dreamcast to the Atari, and they collect everything. And these guys and they're always posting their finds, and their thing is they never reveal their secrets. So it's cool. They're like, I picked this up in a parking lot in like the Walmart in Kearns, and I'm like, and no one asks any questions.
Yeah,
because they're
yeah.
like, I don't want to know. But it's so anyway. So this thought I had as I was putting all my games into cases and pulling the paper out, because so I could recycle all of them, and it was just like a stack this high. And I was carrying
Just
them.
huge stack of cases.
Of cases. I'm like,
Just carrying him. What is this?
I had a.
He did a little like
Balancing act?
yeah, potentially like a salsa.
It was
movement.
about this tall, and so it was moving. It was
So
swaying.
it was a wobbly stack.
It was a wobbly stack.
A tower of
wobbly,
cases.
wobbly, wop. So I was getting to thinking about this, and I realized that like the way we consume games, the physical game themselves, has changed so drastically from where we were at with cartridges to where we are at now with digital downloads, and me being like, I'm so sick of having all these DVDs, I'm going to put them all, or all these CDs, I'm going to put them all in a case, and that's going to be my whole game collection. I was like, we got to talk about physical games, physical
Like
video
the
games.
physical copy, not the actual playing of the game.
And how that's changed through the years. So the first one, we wanted to start with a segment we do pretty regularly. It's our retro. It's kind of our retro looking back segment because we all have long storied histories and games. It's called Be Kind, Rewind.
Be kind, rewind.
And we like to go back and we like to just kind of figure out what, we like to just reminisce because that feels good. Feels good.
Because it's good.
Yeah. So to start, we wanted to talk about how games have been packaged kind of through the years. So obviously got to start with arcades, right? Arcade games.
So you're talking about like the actual arcade
Cabinets.
cabinet.
For a lot of people, that was pre-Pong, pre-Atari. A lot of, it was technically Atari, but a lot of people, that was like their first touch on a video game.
Yeah, sure.
Well, Pong was the first video game ever, right?
Yeah.
I actually just read an interesting article that talked about the culture, the history of Atari. Thank you for the assist there. And how it was just this radical company in California in the 70s.
How recently did you read this article?
2 days ago?
Oh, so talking about Bushnell's
Yeah,
indiscretions, because I was going to talk about that briefly.
There's a lot of different things like that, but I think it's more like for the purposes of the segment, it's
Right.
just talking about they just had, this group of people just assembling physical circuit boards.
One of whom was Steve Jobs and smelled really bad.
Assembling
Side
physical
note.
circuit board. Shot fired at Steve Jobs. Rest his
Yo, what
soul.
you going to do, bitch?
Rest in peace.
Putting things
Rest in
together so
pancreas.
that they could sell like a physical product. I mean, this to me is you have this argument of people now. It's bleeding over to the newspaper space, but also more specifically the book space. Man, I get that book that I buy from the shelf. I can thumb through the pages. You have the ink, and now you have the ebook reader, right? So it's this physical book versus a Kindle. It's this, going to the bookstore versus opening up iTunes at home. Games have followed that trajectory. But I think for a lot of people, especially in the setting of the hobby, it's just kind of this undersung story, right? Technology, like video games have always been the cutting edge of technology versus books have kind of slowly come up to that. And you've gone from huge arcade cabinets like we talked about to home consoles, replicating an arcade-like experience to playing with friends, to handheld portable games you could take different places. And now I have a cinema quality experience at home, 4K HDR video games on a $500 box from Microsoft. I mean, it's incredible to see that transition, right?
Yeah, and these arcade machines back in the 70s, the 80s, and I guess into the 90s were, you could collect $500 in quarters on a night. This is a weird connection, but Nolan Bushnell was actually in the same fraternity as me and my dad.
Come on.
And he
Are
was
you
there like a
serious?
couple of years before my dad. But yeah, so he worked at Lagoon.
No,
Yes,
come on.
so Nolan
The founder of Atari worked at Lagoon.
Oh man, am I going to get into a story?
Oh, no. Here we go.
So we'll forget about Nolan Bushnell actually turning out to be a giant dirtbag. But, he started out fixing the prize cabinets at Lagoon, which is our local amusement park. Which,
Crap amusement park.
Oh, yeah, it's ever the Rolling Stones played it, so it can't be that crappy. Eat a dick. Don't talk about
Rolling
Lagoon like
Stones.
that. Yeah, who's ever heard of the Rolling Stones? How many Super
What
Bowls
is
have
this,
they played?
1975,
Oh my God.
1969?
Yeah, that's
Ed
when he
Sullivan
was
called.
there. That's when he was there fixing
Boo.
arcade cabinets, not arcade cabinets, these prize cabinets, and realizing, like, oh my God, there is so much appeal here. There is so much attraction to these. And then he was also, and then when he was he was studying as an engineering student at the University of Utah, was when he kind of melded those two
Dude, no way. I had no
together
idea.
into Atari. Right.
Very
So,
cool.
he was here in Salt Lake. And they were, when they were doing things with these arcade cabinets, it was, this wasn't in Salt Lake, but when they had them, when they were out in Silicon Valley, and they would put them in a bar. They would take the Pong cabinet physically, put it in a truck, drive it to a bar.
Yep.
and they'd put it down, and then it would honestly be a literal bucket sitting there collecting the quarters.
Oh my gosh.
And then they would have to drive back to the bar in the middle of the night. I mean, like 9 or 10, because people would play this nonstop. Get the bucket of quarters, empty it into a sack, and then put the bucket back and lock it, and then drive away. Like this is where we started.
I mean, it sounds like an episode of the Flintstones, right? Like you have some little pterodactyl with his mouth open, like just feeding quarters in, and Barney has to go and burp the pterodactyl quarters out.
Yeah,
I mean that's crazy.
So when they are, and this is where this is when they find a warehouse, some cheap ass warehouse space, and they start assembling these circuit boards and all this stuff. This is where Steve Jobs comes in, and he actually offered Bushnell a 10% stake in Apple for $400. And Bushnell said, "Nah, you're the stinky guy that he didn't shower." So Steve Jobs was the weird, quiet, stinky guy that assembled circuit boards. Who's going to give him $400 for his weird company called Apple?
Yeah,
terrible name.
Yeah,
for
Bushnell
a
would
company.
be pretty close to a billionaire based on that Apple stock alone.
Yeah.
So that
well, thank goodness.
And listeners, you are more than welcome to check my numbers, because the last time I was reading about this was like 2-3 years ago. So those numbers may be off, but it was a significant chunk of Apple for less than $1,000, and he said no. So that's a stupid aside. Anyway, arcade machines. Once we had the Atari, what was it, the 2600?
That was the first home console. I mean, again, I'm sure that all the retro gamers are going to freak out, but that was the first mass market appeal retro console.
Wait, I got to ask you though. We're talking about arcade games.
Yeah.
What was the first arcade game you remember like really pumping quarters into?
Area 51. Area 51
that
at
was
the movie theaters.
my
That's a good one.
Area 51 was so.
Why was it always
sick.
at the movie theaters? That's where I remember it too.
I don't know. I don't know, because there's guns at the movie theaters. Kids come out of a Schwarzenegger flick. It was in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's got to shoot some aliens.
The best one I remember, the first one I remember was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle and the X-Men beat 'em ups.
Oh.
But my favorite one was the Simpsons beat 'em up, where you could play the Simpsons characters.
that was a good one.
those were the first ones that I was just like, this is out of control. This is so cool.
I remember pumping money into Gauntlet.
Okay.
Just that old school.
Yeah.
Just run around. It's the same type of thing. Beat 'em up. They're all same type of games.
When
There's
you
like
really
3
sit
different
down and
types.
look in 2018, like you look at that, right? Like little John Peterson's got his, quarters that you went around to go get, and you had to go to the arcade. Your mom probably drove you to the arcade, and you had to take this physical piece of dirty metal, put it in a machine, and then you could play like 10 minutes or 5 minutes of video games, right?
Wasn't that good? 2 minutes.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and that's
trying to be nice.
what's insane. We bitch about DLC and we bitch about microtransactions. Oh my god,
That's crazy.
Arcades took quarters in the 90s.
Yeah.
Can I just look up I'm just gonna look it up. What it was in like 19.
Like what the equivalency was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of a quarter.
Well, then maybe that's why all the games are like 50 cents now. I hate taking my kids to the arcade.
Dude, 50 cents. Like games are like $1,
You can
$2.
bust through those real quick.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and so again, that was where
It's like 40
games
cents.
came from.
It'd be like if you were paying 40 cents to play a game right now.
For 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
If you're good.
Okay, so let's extrapolate that out over a 40-hour game.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
It's nuts.
I don't want to
It's
run
crazy.
those numbers.
So here, I got a quick question, because you asked what was the first one. Do you guys, if you could own an arcade cabinet, do you have one on the top of your head? I do. It's San Francisco Rush 2049. It has a double seat.
Yeah, those racing ones were pretty
Oh
dope.
my god,
don't know what I would pick.
that's my favorite racing game on the Sega Dreamcast, and it was on the N64. It was produced by Midway, and
I would still you
such
gotta
a good
go with
arcade
those
game.
classics though, like that the
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle one, like the 4-player where you kind of
Yep.
get everyone together.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, the 4-player ones.
Yeah, the
are
4-player
sick.
ones.
So that the X-Men one or the Simpsons, any of those three, dude, those were so great.
So we go from the arcade machines, and then we get into the home consoles. The iteration primarily was cartridges. That's how your games came packaged. Right. When you're blowing on the SNES, do you remember the? Do you guys remember the Sonic and Knuckles game? This blew my mind. Where you could buy Sonic and Knuckles, and you could plug Sonic 2 into it, and then play
Into it.
Knuckles
Yeah.
in Sonic 2. Now, I have to be honest. There are two things in video games I still don't understand.
1, 2.
The first one
I know
is
what you're
that.
gonna say.
How the hell did Knuckles how did he just get into the game? I was like, did they because as a kid, I didn't understand like code and stuff, but now I'm
Yeah.
thinking, did they rewrite the entire code of the game? How do you just like insert him without it breaking the game? And how do they just work? So that was
know.
weird. And the other one is
Ones and zeros, bro.
how the hell when you plug a basic Pokemon Red or Blue into a Game Boy Color, did it render colors? How did it pick colors? How did it know which colors? Where was the programming? Where was the code telling it in a black and white game, assign this color, assign that color?
Oh, I don't know. I thought you were
Ones
going
and
to say.
zeros.
I thought you were going to go duck hunt gun. I still don't understand it.
The light? Oh, I do.
I
Do
don't.
you know when the screen flashes? When you're playing Duck Hunt, if you pay very close attention, the screen flashes every time you click the gun.
Okay.
And the gun reads that. It sees that flash and it registers where it is.
Okay. Can I sound stupid for a second?
Yeah.
I thought it was
Wait, you're
shooting
gonna start
something.
sounding stupid
I
now?
thought there was like some sort of signal it was shooting out. It wasn't taking a picture of the screen.
It's not necessarily taking a picture. It's
Well,
just,
yeah, like taking a snap
it's
of it.
flashing.
It's
It's clever though, right?
communicating.
Yeah.
I think it's really clever, and
Wow.
that's another thing is how these guys were able. Now we've got just discs, and they're like, yeah, you can write anything on them, you can throw anything. But these guys were thinking outside the box. There was no box. There never was a box.
Yeah.
They're just like well,
Well,
hey,
there was
can we build a
like
light
the
gun?
box. You go to the store and like I mean, it was just incredible, right? And you're thinking back, like the first time somebody had Super Mario 3, or the first time someone had Sonic, like you were buying something. You were buying that like that cartridge in your house was like a big deal, right?
Well, the funny thing is, if I remember correctly, at least in my experience, people didn't own a ton of games.
You own like 4 or 5.
Yeah, like
Maybe.
everyone owned a handful.
And then there
'cause
was
they were
one
expensive.
friend. There was one friend
Yeah,
that
one
was Trent. For me,
idiot.
Trent had all the games,
Just
all
so
the
many
consoles.
games.
He had everything.
There was always someone who had like a lot of
One
stuff,
guy,
but
yeah.
most people had a small handful of games because you'd go rent them.
Yep.
Like because there wasn't like save states and stuff, so it was like you're just gonna go rent a game and you're gonna play the crap out of it
Yeah.
as long as you can until you got to take it back.
I rented games from a grocery store
Yeah.
for $2
Dan's.
from Reams.
Oh, Reams.
Ours
Reams.
was Video Verns, and they had
Video Vern.
Video Verns,
Video Vern.
$1 kid rental Wednesdays.
Oh my god.
So
Shit.
you could get
yeah.
they didn't understand, I don't think, how popular video games are going to be.
Yeah.
So you have all these like Nintendo games. They're like, yeah, this is kid crap, whatever.
This is video game crap.
Dude, those like when they very first started, they had like a good selection. But then like when the new games would come, they would have more copies of the new hot video games than they would like the salacious R-rated movies that were popular.
Yeah.
And they were just renting them for $1. Like, no wonder they went out of business.
No wonder. You idiots. Dude,
Verns.
Video Verns was sweet. I saw a picture online.
They didn't make their money on the initial rental though. They made their real money
on the late fees. That was everyone's model.
Well, it's
Yeah.
just crazy. It's crazy to me thinking back to that versus where we are now. Again,
And then, you know what else I loved about cartridges was the backwards compatibility especially I think about the Game Boy, because you could play original Game Boy games on the Game Boy Advance, which was a trip. It was like sticking out. And then
That's
like
right.
yeah, and then you remember like you couldn't put a Game Boy Color game into an old Game Boy because you had to click the thing across the top and there was that
Yeah.
little notch
Yeah.
and there wasn't a notch in the Game Boy Color games. Oh my god, these things that like you took for granted.
that
But
was just
they like
life. That's
looking
just how
back,
stuff
it's just
happened.
life, and you were like, "That's fine, whatever." But now it's just like a disc. It's a disc. It's a disc.
Well, Spencer-
or a
It's not
Nintendo
even
Switch,
that.
but
Okay,
it's a disc.
so here's
it's
a
disc,
phone.
or it's a download.
I go on my phone, I hit Apple Store, and I can download whatever.
The last thing, the last one, I think the oldest game media thing we had was the black PS1 disc.
Oh, geez.
Remember the
Yep.
PS1 discs were black?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the last time it wasn't just discs. I mean, sure, like we don't count Nintendo because what the hell are they doing ever?
Yeah.
But
right.
even they were doing discs technically. But yeah, so I think it's crazy. I think we take it for granted. I think we went from carts to discs, and then it was like, that's just how games come now. But like, there was a lot of stuff that happened between that.
I don't know. I feel like things are better now. Discless
I
and
feel
cartless.
like
Yeah.
they are worse now.
No.
Okay.
Something's brewing. Something's happening in studio.
No. It's all about digital.
Spencer's transition was good.
right over Peterson's dome.
So
I heard it.
We started an argument, and this is my new favorite trick that Dylan, our producer, taught us: is when we're having an argument, just say, "Save it for the podcast." Just
shut
save
up.
it for the podcast,
And then just like have an argument in real time.
yeah, it's just
Okay.
well, it's also a great way to just be like, "Dude, shut the hell up. I don't want to talk to you." Oh yeah, we'll just save it for the podcast, but it's really like, just shut up.
Which we didn't do for the Papusa thing. I was not going to let that
No,
slide. But we ended up
Peterson-
having it again.
Which was
on the
worth it.
podcast.
That's how bad it was. That thing spilled over, and then we had it again today
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really good when you're talking to Peterson, though, and like he's talking about just a weird story about work. Totally personal. Just, dude, save it for the podcast. I don't. Just save it for the podcast.
What'd you guys do this weekend?
Dude,
Never mind.
save-
Just save it for the podcast. I don't care.
It's such a good sentence. Just ender. Just save it for the podcast.
I've got a list of things that you want. Okay,
Peterson's the only
I'm
one who's
writing
like,
it down.
"Okay, I'll talk about that
Okay,
on the podcast."
You asked me how I was doing,
Oh my
and
God.
I wanted
my
to
grandma's
tell you.
not feeling great.
Guys, I was telling you last
ran out of
week.
diapers
and-
last
we
week.
were out of time, Peterson. Save it for the next podcast. Sorry, buddy.
Okay.
But the one we saved was this one was so awesome because I saw a I think we got an email. I think I got an email from press email.
How isn't that a little ironic though for the content of this? You got an electronic mail.
I don't think they
About-
Okay,
Come on.
keep going.
about a game called 40 Winks. And this is a game that was never released on the N64.
Oh man.
But it came out on, I think, on the PS1, and it came out on some other things, and it was never released. But these guys, Pico Interactive, they started a Kickstarter, and they're like, you know what? We're going to release it. We're going to release a full cartridge version that you can play on your N64,
that you
of this
already
game.
took back to
This game was
Years
so
ago.
close to completion that they had a player's guide or whatever you would call
Sure.
it in the
A
issue
manual?
of Nintendo Power.
Oh.
It was that close, and it never came out. So
How did they trip at the finish line? And
I know,
Why? In
and that's everyone's
2018?
question. And so I'm thinking, I see this, and the wheels start turning, and I tell these guys, I'm like, dude, I think we're looking at a resurgence of cartridges, of retro cartridges, and these butt fingers. That's how they reacted. But I
That's
have to
not
say,
happening.
so we're gonna do a
Condescension and
2v1.
laughs.
So 2v1. This is our argument segment where one of us takes on the other two idiots.
You want to do this?
And dude, that's what I'm asking you. I feel bad for you
Welcome
guys.
to the
I have an
Thunderdome.
entire page of notes on this. How many?
Okay.
An
Yeah.
entire page here.
Yeah,
Here.
yeah.
I have a
That's
world.
the outline I wrote for you.
No, not the outline. The concept here. The screen is off. This is an iPhone. This is a 256 gigabyte iPhone, not a floppy disk.
So you don't think this is going to catch on? You don't think that
No.
there are going to be people
No.
buying cartridges because
Who?
of who?
Buying cartridges of new games?
Of,
because
of
if we're
new
talking
games for
retro
old
games,
consoles.
retro's great.
No.
I'm in
These
for
are
that.
new games on old
no.
cartridges for old machines.
No, what
That's
a waste
really
of
weird.
money.
No one will do that.
No.
No one will do that because
Oh, here he goes. This is a loaded question right there.
Yeah.
Do you
Don't fall for the
think
objection.
Don't
Leading.
fall for the bait.
Leading the witness. Objection. Sustained.
Objection sustained?
After 2 days, this project was fully funded at $20,000.
Oh my gosh, 20,000?
Now.
Woo!
Whole
By
20,000?
Kickstarter standards, that's pretty lame. Keep going.
Okay, well, 4 days later, it's at 70.
Okay.
70?
Woo-wee.
5 digits?
Who's gonna do it? Who's gonna do it? Nobody. Nobody's interested. You idiot said. Nobody. It seems like there's like a decent amount. And let me reiterate.
What's the buy-in?
What's the buy-in?
Yeah, what's like the minimum? Do you know?
Oh, to get a cart. Well, the early purchase was 30. The early bird was 30, and then the current one is 40.
Oh,
And that's what
that
they're.
sounds reasonable.
Yeah, it's
For
not
a-
expensive.
For a
These
game
are
nobody released.
Well, and so here's the thing: you guys are
On a
talking
console that doesn't exist?
shit on this. Is
Yeah, we are.
This is 40 Winks was a bad game. It got like a 6 on IGN. I do not know why they are doing this. I don't know why you
Because
picked
it was
this
there.
game.
It was there.
It was there.
That's why.
Whatever. Maybe the IP was free, or I don't know. But these guys got $70,000 in 4 days for a game that no one has ever heard of and no one liked, and it doesn't even matter, and it's on nobody's radar.
Yeah.
And you think that if they released a good game or a game that people were really excited about. Now, we already talked about cartridges and what people can do with them and what people have done with them. and you still don't think there's anything,
No.
there's any interest or any market in there.
So you made
So let's hear-
$70,000
I
Let's
think
hear your
there's a-
points.
I think
Let's
there's a
hear some
I think
points.
there might be a niche market.
That's
of
what I'm
pe-
saying.
of
I'm not
people
saying
who are
this is a mainstream
Where
market.
people who are saying, "Oh man, here's a thing that I don't have. Let's get it." But for gaming, no one's gonna. You're not gonna buy a cartridge for an N64 of a game that was just made and be like, "This game is dope. I'm so stoked to be playing this." Because every
Why?
time,
Why not?
because there's a reason why games have evolved, JD. Because I'm gonna argue that games are leaps and bounds above what they were in terms of even fun to play. Every time.
You're saying that someone
I
going
don't-
back to make an N64 game is going to make one
They're gonna
in
make
the context of the 90s?
No one's that interested. It's not that interesting. The
You don't
tech's
wanna see
not
what a 2018
What's interesting about it? What's interesting about it?
It's fun. It's an N64. When is the last time you played on an N64 paddle?
You're making my point for me.
What do you mean?
I'm not playing on
seesawing
N64
Because
Four
there's no new
paddles.
games. Because there's no new games for you to play.
No, because
Why are there?
I'm not
Why is Utah
interested in
Retro
playing
Gamers?
the old
Why
ones.
is Utah Retro Gamers so popular? Why do they manage to get so many
It's
people?
about collecting, not playing.
They have no.
Collecting
you
is fun.
heard Gabe telling us how many people he
Dude,
gets in his
they-
house. He has to send his wife to a motel because they have 40 people in their house playing retro games from so long ago that they've already played dozens of times. Imagine if those guys could access new games developed by people in 2018. I would be fascinated to see what the developer
Why
of
wouldn't they
Limbo
just release
or
it on
Ori
a
or something-
system that exists?
because
Then,
the-
like,
why don't
why
they
wouldn't
just release?
put it
Why
on
don't
the
they just
PC?
release? Why do they release vinyls? Why do they release vinyls? Why don't they just put out digital downloads? Why do they even release CDs or vinyls or cassette tapes or anything?
So vinyls specifically, you do have the segment of the population that's saying like that is a true sound recording.
sound
like
quality.
there's a physical thing that is with that. Again, hyper niche.
And you have a segment of the population, especially now. They are getting older. They are looking backwards to, oh man, you know what? I really liked playing the N64. I liked how the controller felt. I liked I don't like the new.
I liked it back
so
then.
when they released the new digital NES and the new Super NES this last year, why didn't they release the cartridges? Because it's stupid.
Nobody wants cartridges.
What? That's the dumbest thing ever. Why did they re-release a product from 25 years ago? Is what you're asking?
Collectors want cartridges, and that's it. Mainstream does not want cartridges.
I'm not saying this is mainstream. I never once said this is mainstream. I said this is going to be a developing. It's going to be a niche market for sure, just like the retro
You think
market
this is
is.
going to keep happening? People are just going to keep developing
Absolutely,
cartridges?
absolutely. And let me tell you, just everyone, just do an activity.
Okay.
Close your eyes.
No.
Close your eyes.
Last time I did that, bad things happened.
Okay, close your eyes and
Ryan's
cover.
I don't
your,
close
close
my
your
eyes
eyes
when
and
I'm
cover
sitting
your
this close
lap.
to Spencer. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I can do
That's
that.
smart.
Okay, now I'm just gonna read some things right now. Power Rangers,
Okay.
Crystal Pepsi,
Yeah.
Star Wars, Jumanji, X-Files, Star Trek. Open your eyes. What year is it?
He's
Leading.
saying, yeah,
Leading.
he's saying, oh, no, they were all released this year.
Yeah, because there's no nostalgia. Why are they doing Star Wars? They did it in the 70s. Why would they do it again? That's
They should
so
release
dumb.
a Star Wars movie and use the same tech when they made the original trilogy and make it look like garbage. Oh my gosh, that sounds like a great idea, doesn't it, JD? You like that idea, don't you?
Star Wars
I'm
Holiday
pretty sure
Special
the
is what
original
they'll call it.
Star Wars was not filmed on garbage tech. And yes, they
If
still
we did it
do.
now,
They still. Why do you think?
let's use that same CGI, the same effects they had back then. You want them to make a new
It
Star Wars
holds
using
up.
those same
It
effects.
holds up.
It does hold up? You think
Yes.
So you would prefer the look of the old Star Wars compared to the look of the new Star Wars?
So again, going back on this wonderful little seesaw we have here, like practical effects are making a huge comeback because CG has been
Yes.
overly sampled.
Yeah, you are the guy that's pushing. You like the pod racing scene is your favorite part of Star Wars.
No.
Yeah, it is.
Why would that? No,
Because
why
you're
would
like, I
say
love the
that?
new Star Wars. New Star Wars is better. Every
No,
new
no,
thing
no.
is better.
We're not
All
talking
new things
story.
get exponentially better. I didn't say that
we're
pod racing had
talking
to do with
looks.
stories. Yeah, you just loved looking at the pod racing scene. You are who George Lucas made that movie for. Listen,
Peterson
You know
loves
what we
pod
should
racing.
do?
80s
Dude, let's start a company that makes games that only play on green and black monitors on your computer. Dude, that's legit. I remember having fun on a green and
So
black
you're just
monitor
using hyperbole.
when
This
I was
is
a
asinine.
kid.
You're just
Let's
using
do
like
that again.
asinine hyperbole
Let's do that
examples
again.
that don't make any sense. Dude, 80s
I liked it back
nostalgia-
then. I'll like it again.
80s nostalgia is hot. There's a reason that Stranger Things is so popular. There's a reason Ready Player One is based on 80s nostalgia. Glow, Wet Hot American Summer. These are all things. People are ready for that nostalgia. People, if you tell them, dude, you have to go out to a game store and buy an SNES. You have to go find one to play this cool game. And people are obsessed with it. People get obsessed with games.
Right.
Like Dead Cells, like games that you could put on a simpler platform and you could put them on a cartridge and have them play. And you're saying the same exact technology. No, you can put in things. You see the cassette tapes that connect to a CD player for a car?
Yeah.
Wow, they're repurposing technology to do something more advanced. They're using a magnet, which the thing reads to redirect your audio into your cassette tape. Oh my God, people are thinking outside the box, but they're still using a cassette tape, aren't they?
There's a difference between nostalgia and like remembering how good things were and reincorporating the modern technology. People love Stranger Things. They're not going out and getting VHS tapes of Stranger Things to watch an 80s thing. They're doing it, streaming it on Netflix.
Oh, did you seriously
so wait,
just say
this
that?
This is a similar point to what I wanted to make. Because every time, I would say, not every time, 80, 90% of the time I've gone back and played a game I enjoyed as a kid, it's not fun.
This is what the DVD cases look like for Stranger Things. Yes, people are
it
interested.
looks like it.
This is what the DVD cases...
I know. This is the thing. And let me tell you what. Did you know that cassette tape sales in 2017 were up 35%?
From what?
From one
Does that-
to
does that-
$70,000?
I mean, going up that much is like significant. I mean, you guys are arguing that it's over. Everything's over. Everyone burn your cassette tapes, burn your SNES, throw it out the window.
I'm not saying it's over. There's always going to be a niche, but it's not interesting. It's not interesting. It's like a...
To you.
You look at that and you go, oh,
Wait, it's
all
not
right.
interesting. If you heard that there was a game out there like Ori or Limbo or these really impactful games that are really cool and amazing, and you're like, I can only get that on the SNES, and it will cost me $30 plus the $30 at a used game store, so it'll cost me $60. And hey, my kids get to play an SNES. That's crazy. Like,
No,
these are things
I won't go get it.
for you because you're boring and weird, and you like the pod racing scene in Star Wars is your favorite scene.
No, because
That
I don't
is
want to
you.
go plug
Pod
in another
racing
thing.
here.
Look, I'm not the guy. I want less physical things in my home. I don't want more consoles. I don't want more cassette. I don't want
DVD
more
cases
cartridges.
I have to take out to my garage.
Yeah, I don't want these things. I love having digital things because I have one Xbox that sits there and it plays all my media and it plays all my games, and I don't ever have to grab a disc or a DVD. I do it all digitally online. That's what I like. I love the thought about, oh man, that was fun. Back when I was, 12 years old playing the N64 or whatever, that was a ton of fun. That doesn't mean I want to go back and do it.
I love buying the Mega Man collection that had all the old games digitally. So now I have it
I want it on my
license
Switch.
forever. Yeah.
I want it on my Nintendo Switch.
So that's the point. It's not necessarily like we're tying it all together. We're arguing it's not necessarily the nostalgia is bad and the content is good and the thought of having an old game is good. But when people are looking at modern day convenience, nobody wants to have what happens if your cartridge breaks?
What happens if your CD breaks? That's a terrible argument.
I don't use CDs.
CDs suck. Best
I don't
Buy
use
stopped selling
CDs either.
CDs. It's
I don't
all
buy
digital.
CDs. I don't buy DVDs, and I don't buy hard copies of games.
I don't like blowing on cartridges, like praying and hoping
So you
that
want to
it'll
talk
work.
numbers? You're talking $70,000 worth of people are interested
in 4 days.
Let's talk about the company called Valve. They only sell
I
digital
never said
copies.
it's mainstream. I never said this is going
I
to take over.
get
These are
it.
ridiculous. You're having an argument we're not having, and you're winning, arguing with yourself. You're doing a great job, Pete. But no, this is way to go. And you gonged yourself.
Self-gong.
But again,
Spencer gonged it.
the argument is that this is a prediction. Game devs love these types of challenges. They love having these types of barriers to overcome these technological things. There is a game that I'm going to talk about later where you can play it co-op with 2 controllers or on the same controller, and both of you use one half of the controller. These are the types of things that game devs like to do. And if they see these types of successes, if they see that, hey, we set up a Kickstarter for a shit game that didn't come out on the N64 and we get $70,000, and they're thinking, can we do that? Can we do that? And I think they're going to see there's a market. That's the $70,000 in 4 days is not.
So wait, one thing though, one counterpoint to that. So this one game you're talking about, what's it called? 40
Winks.
40 Winks. So they didn't have to actually develop the game though. it was mostly developed already,
which is why it was,
and they just finished it and put it out.
Which is why the price was cheaper. Yeah, no, if you see
Right,
a real
so
one
if
of these and
someone
they're
was-
making a new game,
Do you think they would? Do you think people are? And I'm asking seriously. Do you think game devs who are trying to make money are seriously going to go and actually make a game from scratch and try to sell it on a console that no one has anymore?
And fire up a cartridge making factory in terms of eating into their margin to get this game out to the public.
Like,
yeah.
I don't.
I
see
can
that.
see a middle tier studio absolutely throwing this up on Kickstarter, and quite frankly, I think the development kits for these are simpler to work with. It's a lot
Sure.
easier to develop a game for the N64 than it is a lot of other games now, and I think that
Is it worth it though? I mean, is it worth the salary of a handful of guys that are going to be doing it?
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
And the production, I don't think it is.
But again, so JD's right in terms of like having that old nostalgia, and Peterson's like looking at this specifically. But at the end of the day, it's the cartridge is the issue. There's a reason that one little kid in Middle America makes some of the most popular apps on the App Store himself and is making millions of dollars because he doesn't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars making cartridges. Like, people make Nintendo 64 games still, and things could be great, but the physical process of the plastic and the boards and the chips and all that kind of stuff that eats at margins unnecessarily, and that will not be recouped.
Okay, well, we will see.
Self-harm.
I am. What on earth?
Oh, we're gonging
I'm
ourselves
taking this
all
away.
day.
This is weird. I feel like I just won the 2v1 because I didn't feel the need to self-aggrandize because I was losing the argument so badly.
You just did right now. You just gave yourself kudos
no,
for winning
yeah.
the 2v1.
Did you see me ringing the gong?
It was a proverbial gong.
Why are you ringing the gong, JD?
What a mess. I'm never doing one of
Yes,
these again.
yes. When the 2v1 ends with someone saying, "What a mess,"
What a mess.
with the look JD has on his face
just-
right now, that is a
Hey,
success.
I know that look. It's my least favorite look because it tastes like ash.
Aggressive stupidity is what's on display here. I'm sorry to all of our listeners. You had to just like choke through all of that. We're going to move on. And this is, so we talked about, the past. We talked about what I think is coming in the present. And I think you all should go out to your game store, your used game store, and snatch up all those consoles because I think they're going to be flying off.
Game store and snatch it.
Flying off the shelf.
Flying off the shelves.
Best thing that ever happened to a GameStop.
GameStop. Ew. You love the pod racing scene and you shop at GameStop?
No, I'm just saying because they have a whole bunch
dude,
of those.
You are the worst.
I don't shop
Michael Bay's my favorite director.
I just told you I don't
love
have physical
Nickelback.
copies of anything.
Imagine Dragons is the best. That's you. Peterson, stop talking about your interests.
Oh my gosh.
Jesus. Do we...
Welcome to the Saltcast.
Okay, well, let's talk about these briefly. Let's talk about these very briefly because I know we're running a little bit over, but we want to talk about the future of physical games.
This is
future.
actually interesting.
The
Versus the
hell
sewer
is this
segment.
shit.
Yes.
The hell is this shit?
Dude, this is
I
super
hate this.
interesting
This is
right
the
now.
worst
right
week
now.
of my life. This is the worst podcast. I'm just gonna. We're gonna have to re-record it. I hate this.
Well, Peterson's
handle
done.
it.
JD's done for a different reason. So,
Yes.
looking at the future of our favorite hobby, video games.
Can I just talk? I want to talk really quickly on Nintendo Switch Online because
Yeah.
this is so relevant. We've been talking about cartridges. We've been
Yeah.
talking about Nintendo, and Nintendo's always been
Doing their own thing.
Doing their own
They're
thing
weird.
because they go cartridge first, and then Sega went cartridge, and they're like, okay, we'll do cartridge again. And then they were like, everyone's doing discs, and they're like, yeah, we'll do disc too, but they're so small.
These little baby
They're
discs.
so
Baby
small.
discs.
You don't
And
even
then-
know.
Yeah, and then they kind of went along with it. They just stuck with the discs for a while, but now they are finally releasing like a dedicated, hopefully decently competitive online service because they've had these weird things.
Yeah, Xbox has
before.
Xbox Game Pass right now, and
Well,
now
but
Nintendo's.
Xbox Live I think it's Xbox Game Pass is an evolution of what we're going with, right? We're just talking about basic contiguous multiplayer functionality across multiple games. Like one way where you can interact with your friends on the same service on Switch instead of each individual game coming up with their own homebrew solution, right?
Yeah, but they're using your phone for this, right?
Well, so you're talking about
Nintendo Switch Online, the online service that's coming out in September of
well,
this
like
year.
if you want to chat with your friends,
Yeah.
you have to download an app and do it
And
with your
do
friends.
it-
So you might as well just download Discord and just
Right. That's
just-
weird. But then they
Yeah.
have this, and this is the same thing. This is the same service that you get to play a game a month, right? They have 3 games a month.
So what they're doing with the Nintendo service is they'll put out 3 games a month, but what makes it different is that these 3 games, so they're up for the month of February. In March, they are gone. You cannot play
Wow.
them
But
anymore.
But you can go buy them.
You can buy it.
Now you can go, which is a try and buy model is not the worst thing.
No,
And, it's
there'll
how
be
much a
there'll be
month?
some old games on there. It's $20 a year.
$20 a year?
I think it's $8 a month. $8 a month or $20 a year.
Yeah, like $20 a year.
So
it's like nothing.
If you have a Nintendo Switch, this is a must buy.
Yeah.
It's dumb because you get 3 free games
Absolutely.
a month.
And even if like it's the try and buy model. If you like it, then hey, buy it. But if you don't like it, like no commitment at all.
And I've
20
heard people
bucks.
talking like, "Oh, well, what if I get away into a game on like the 20th?" And I'm like, "Well, that's part of the system. That's part of how
See
it
you
works."
the first of next month, bro. Make better decisions.
Play harder.
But I think it works. I like it. I kind of like it. And then Spencer, you mentioned Google is rolling one of these out.
Well, this is kind of getting into, again, something that's very interesting to me. Like, this is potentially the future of video games. So we've talked about going away from the physical and more into the digital. Companies like NVIDIA, Intel, and now Google are jumping into this space where you're basically outsourcing your computing power.
Yeah.
So instead of buying a physical graphics card, physical media, you basically log in with the equivalent of a Chromebook, just a internet portal, and that's it, hardware-wise, into a Google server, which already has inlaid into it the most up-to-date graphics processing tech, and then you stream a 4K game to your interface. So you don't even own the box that's running it, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
It is crazy.
That's an
more-
interesting development.
I see it trending this way because it's for people that don't want to drop a ton of money on I don't know. Well, right now a $5,000 rig if you want to actually have a GPU in it. But like dropping like $1,200 on a full machine, or because you want to, or you can have someone else.
What's
do it for you.
interesting about this for me is it doesn't even feel like, so think of like sci-fi books and movies and stuff like that. It doesn't even feel like that was what they were imagining for like sci-fi. You still had like a physical thing. And
Sci-fi
so
got so much wrong.
Yeah.
Go
so
read Isaac
vacuum
Asimov, and
tubes
you're like,
So,
jetpacks.
but
vacuum
this is-
tubes in the brains. They couldn't.
So this concept of this is something that had never even crossed my mind.
Yep.
Right?
Love that.
So and that's why it's so crazy.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome that people are, again, like we said at the very beginning, the gaming community thinks completely outside the box and is driving so much technological advance right now.
Yeah.
In terms of like computing
Everything from
and
AI
graphics
to
and
development,
AI.
different things like
It's
that. Like those are
crazy.
all gaming innovations leading the way for those companies.
It's
So
And
awesome.
you know who we have to thank? Bitchy, whiny video game nerds on internet forums. Why are the game graphics so bad? Oh, I wish this game ran better. Why are the load times so terrible?
why can't I get more carts?
Cartridges don't have load times. Do you want to get back
That
into
is
this?
true.
They have
They-
low times.
You just triggered JD, like the look on his face.
I looked
was
it up.
looking directly
Stranger
at
Things,
him.
the soundtrack came out on cassette tape only.
But and I will say, one of my favorite bands right now. They're
You know what I'm doing.
They're an
Is that a
'80s
lie?
band.
You know what I'm doing.
One of my favorite bands right now is an '80s band. But they, there it is. There it is. Everybody.
This would have
We were
helped.
waiting
This
for
would
it
have
the
helped a
whole
lot
time.
in the 2v1, honestly.
Yeah, I would have.
They only released it in cassette, which I hated. I was like, I'm not. Stop it. I can't do it.
you can't do it.
JD, you get one more, and I'm muting you. I'm serious.
You
It's worth it. It's worth it.
Don't do
Shutting
it.
you up with fart noise is my new favorite thing.
I'll just mute you. I'm sitting right next to the board. I can just push the mute button.
Borderson.
So we need to move this along, though.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, everyone's going to plug into the Singularity and to play their games. Kind of crazy.
Well,
to
if
the
you think about,
singularity.
okay, so you think a little bit about Ready Player One,
Yeah.
and I think you're
That's
talking
exactly
about
what this is.
the future. You're like, oh, we didn't know, but now we're starting to see that. And so in Ready Player One, the future is just essentially a headset you put on your eyes and it covers your ears, and that has all the processing power to do
Yeah.
all the crazy gaming shit in the whole universe and do all this stuff. And it's because it's being done remotely.
Well, I mean, that's the same concept, right? It's a monitor. It's a monitor and speakers. That's all.
And that's
that it
where we're
is.
heading.
And then you're offloading that computing power to servers. And
Which is
so,
really
yeah,
cool.
I mean,
It's
this
awesome.
is exactly what Ready Player One is in terms of that.
Yeah, so I think, and I mean, these are, the future of like digital gaming is going to be
Interesting.
So fascinating.
And
Very,
I
very
think
interesting.
I really think there's just going to be a backlash. I really do, but we'll see. We
A
will see.
cartvolution.
There are more.
Revocart?
There are more like I've seen so many studies that millennials outread the older generations, like baby boomers, print media. So they have more print subscriptions, and older people have more digital subscriptions than the New York Times, for example. And younger people buy more books, and older people use more e-readers. So older people are like you guys that are like, I don't want 50,000 books in my house. I just want one little box where I can read them all. And
It's
then
not- it's
younger
not
folks like
hipstery enough
me
to have a
who
Kindle.
were born, you know, in the 20th century, not the 19th century. We like to have
The hipsters like to look like they're older and wear glasses without lenses and weird hats and scarves in the summertime.
and those hipsters are going
and
to
hold a
prove
book
me
with
right
a pipe.
Green
because
tea
I know
flavored
my
Kit Kats.
generation.
Have a pipe and a book because they're cool and old fashioned. Anyways, we
Yeah,
won't
you
get
guys
into
both
that.
need reading glasses, so we're like
I do not need
like
reading
judge
glasses.
people.
Yeah, I
I don't
accept
need
lasers.
I don't need reading glasses. I'm fine. What are you talking about?
I'm fine.
Peterson, you're not even. That's the remote.
Why are you holding
That's not
it-
your phone. That's
What?
the TV
Hold on one
remote.
second. I think
Hold
I
on.
can see this button.
Hold on. I'll get it.
It's
I'll
a-
get it.
Which button is it again?
So instead of having you guys do old person things, can we bring back that fart soundtrack?
No.
I keep closing it because Peterson's getting so mad.
I'm gonna mute it.
I had
okay,
it open.
We need to do.
Am I gonna get hassled for this? Because I don't know
No.
if we have enough time for me to get hassled.
No, let's do it real quick.
Okay, cool.
So we have a
Dice of Destiny.
update.
Dice of Destiny is our favorite little segment. We always like trying new games, and we found the best way to do it. What'd you do? You lose a dice?
Slipperson.
Don't worry about it. I dropped my pen like 6 times in a row.
So Dice of Destiny, we take a 20-sided dice and we assign a game genre to each side, and we roll that, and then that's our genre. We roll to see the price. We roll to see if it's like who made it or whatever. If it's a AAA game, if it's a bigger game or an indie title, and then finally, once that game has been rolled for, we roll to see who plays that game. And then at that point, that person has to go pick a game in that genre for that price, made by indie or AAA, and then they play it. So this is just our way of letting some dice figure out what games we're going to play next. And so I threw some loaded dice because I was so salty that I was not the dice
was
weren't
never
coming
getting
out for
rolled,
me.
yeah.
I eventually rolled a party game recently.
Yeah.
And the game I picked was Overcooked.
Very underserved genre.
This is seriously. So Overcooked, I guess technically is not even a party game because I've been thinking it's a cooking game. Is it a party game?
No, there is no cooking game genre specifically. I've actually looked at this on the Switch. I like it. It's definitely a party game. It
Okay,
has the party
if Spencer
game
says
feel.
it's a party game, it's a party game. That's
I mean, yeah,
awesome. Makes
I
me
will
feel
give
better.
it to you. I mean,
We'll
it's
give it
in
to
the
you. Of course we'll
traditional
give it to
sense.
him.
Like I wouldn't classify it as a party game, but again, they're not really making a ton of those.
This is a party game.
So
It's a multiplayer game.
So party game,
It's
if you guys
revolving
aren't
around
aware,
parties.
this is like when
Every
there's like
game's a
billion,
party with
yeah.
JD.
You let him get his review in, please.
Yes.
I'm going straight to bed when I go home. I'm not playing games with you guys tonight. These are dickheads. So this game. So party games are typically a bunch of little mini games, and you are advancing around a board in a board game style. This is more of you're still kind of advancing around a board, but you're cooking. And the idea is that the kitchen is different in every level, and you run around as these little characters, and you will pick up ingredients, assemble them, and serve them. And it's that simple. However, they'll have all these different kitchen designs. And I was reading about the game, and it's very apparent that lots of cooking games, if you play them on your phone, what's it called? Cooking Mama, I think, is like the big one that's on iOS.
Oh, yeah.
If you guys have seen that one, it's like, I think they rely a lot on the recipes. Like, oh, you got to make this complex recipe, and if you screw it up, the order will go back. This game is not like this. This game is more focused on the kitchen, and the recipes are pretty damn simple. They're never more than 5 ingredients. Typically, they're 3 or 4. Oftentimes, they're 2. Just 2 ingredients.
Ham with a little bit of ham sauce.
Ham sauce.
Ew.
No, it's delicious.
Oh.
It's not even a thing.
You just grind it up in a blender with some salt
ham
and some
sauce.
vinegar. No, so the idea is that there's like some kitchens that separate you entirely, and so you have to grab and prepare one ingredient and then go to the counter and hand it to your other person, who then has to take it.
Who has to take it and cook with it?
Yeah. And so if
Nice.
you're playing single player, which I learned you can do, which is sad, if you're playing single player, you switch between the characters.
One person party.
Yeah.
Hey, bro.
You could boot
Party
up
for
Mario
one.
Party by yourself, but it would be this. Like, I think
Yeah,
they
that's
they send a counselor to your house if you do that.
Yeah, you have to
Are you
go
okay?
through like a 1 hour digital counseling
Yeah.
How sad
session.
am I? I went to T-Mobile. They asked for my favorite 5. I couldn't even name 5 of my friends.
I was just making up fake numbers so they didn't think I was a loser. So that's what's really fun, and there's like one where it's 3 semi trucks, and the kitchen, 3 parts of the kitchen are in these 3 different semi trucks, and so you can be working in one of them, and then the third one will move. And so,
Oh my
so
gosh.
Jenna would be working in one truck, I'd be working in the other, and then the third truck that was moving would have all the ingredients. So when it would match up with our kitchen, we'd have to run up
You have
there,
to run over
grab a
and
bunch
get
of
it.
ingredients, take them back to your truck, and guess what? If you don't make it back to your truck in time, if you fall off the truck, you're dead. For 5 seconds, there's like a 5-second respawn. And
Oh
it
my
is
gosh.
so obnoxious because we struggled with that one in particular because there are edges in this game where you can fall off and die.
Yeah.
And
As in are all kitchens.
yeah, just like in any
Yeah.
kitchen.
In my
Cooking is a
kitchen,
blood sport.
It's real bad.
So here's the thing, and this is what what I've described as like a pretty fun cooking game. But
Yeah.
let me tell you why I love this game and I recommend it very strongly. I think it was
Ooh, hard buy.
It was a hard buy. I think it was like $15 or something. But it was what happened is Jen and I played this one night and had a ton of fun. And but we got toward as the levels went on, they got a lot more challenging. And then by the time we got to the last level, not the last level of the game, but like the last level we got to, we couldn't unlock it because you get 3 stars per level, depending on how well you do.
Yeah.
And we were getting like 1 or 2 stars, but we kept getting 1 star. And then eventually we couldn't even unlock the next level because we had so few
Running a
stars.
star deficit.
We were running at a star deficit.
Oh my gosh.
If you get 2 stars every time, you're never at a star deficit. But once you start getting those 1 stars, so we were like, we had to have like a serious talk. Like, what are we doing wrong?
Hey, Chef
A
Huddle.
planning session.
This is
Bring
so
it
funny.
in.
We did this
Bring
on.
it
This
in.
is how we spent our Valentine's Day. Was having a conversation
a
about
planning session.
Overcooked. Like, what are we
As soon as
doing
that
wrong?
truck drives
Strategy
away, we
session.
got
And
to
so
get on it.
we had one. We realized that you could do a little dash, and that is a complete game changer. It's like learning you can jump in a video game. Like the dash cut significant chunks of our time off, but we did a level. We were dashing around. We were doing everything we could, and at the end of the level, we were still barely 2 stars. And I turned to her. I was like, "What are we doing wrong? What are we doing wrong?" And she's like, "I think we just need to communicate more."
It's a real relationship builder
Yeah.
game.
No, dude, I'm not joking. We had this conversation because I'm not joking. You have to literally talk the entire time. You cannot be like, okay, I'm doing this.
See you at the end.
And just play.
Because that silence right there is just opportunity for 50,000 mistakes. So we were doing like it felt like you were in a real kitchen because it was like, oh, I got to put these burger patties on, and then I'd be like, oh, I have to clean these dishes. I'm cleaning the dishes, and I'm like, baby, the burger patty's burning. Can you go get it? Can you get it? And she's like, oh yeah, I'll go run and grab that patty.
Oh my gosh.
And then like, oh, I have some buns ready by the sink. Will you grab those and bring them over? And I'm like, yeah. And so we were not doing that to begin with, and we were all kind of we were each doing our own. Like,
Yeah.
I'll put this burger together by myself, cook it and serve it, and you will do this pizza, cook it and serve it. But once we started working together, this game became stupid easy. And that, to me, like we were the score, like all I know is like the terms of the scores. I think they're called coins. And we were getting on one level, we were getting like 40. And we started working together, and we honestly got 220 something.
Oh my
It
God.
is that big of a difference, and you can play up to 4 players. which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because I cannot imagine that
A
with
Gordon
4 players.
Ramsay-esque turnaround.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
like Hell's Kitchen Simulator.
It really was. It was so
Nice.
cool. And the last thing that I really, really liked is that it is exclusively couch co-op. There's no online multiplayer even in the works.
Very cool.
I like that.
Very party game.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Yeah,
so,
no, that,
I mean, it's an
definitely
absolute buy
counting
if
that.
you want to play with your family, if you want to play with friends. It is so fun. Spencer's been playing it.
It is.
It's just
but
a blast.
This is the JD review, and on that JD review scale, what's like the final verdict? We've
It's a
hinted at
buy. It's a buy. It's
Hard
an
buy.
absolute hard buy.
Love
Get
it.
it.
It seems like a great game for the Switch.
Okay.
It's
what
yeah.
it's
If
made
you have
for.
the Switch, don't. It's on Steam, but I would say wait for the Switch because the Switch version comes with all the expansions and stuff.
Oh, nice.
All the extra stuff.
Really.
Yeah. So if you get the
What
Steam
version did you play?
Steam.
the basic one on
Oh,
Steam.
okay.
Yeah, but
Cool.
the Switch one comes, and so I think it's like 1 or 2 expansions, and I might get them if they're on sale. I'm put them on my wish list on Steam. But with the Switch, you just get them right out of the box.
So
love
even on the Steam platform, still a hard buy.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, if you don't have a Switch, I would still get it. I mean, I have 2,
Just as long as you have someone to play it with.
and as long as you have a control,
Playing by yourself sounds sad.
it's very sad.
A lot of
Very, very sad.
yelling in a British accent.
God damn it! Yeah, it's just self-loathing.
'Kay.
So we need a new role.
Let's roll it. You're the
I assume,
DM.
I assume you've got the numbers.
I've got the numbers
That
up.
was your- That's why you're
let's
staring
let
at
the
your phone.
JD determine our fate.
Okie
JD,
dokie.
so first we're
you
gonna
wanna do
roll-
genre. There's my
Yeah, we
20.
got to do genre first. So,
Out of 20.
No, I'm not doing it.
was it 18?
Yeah.
Re-roll. These dice are loaded.
What is it?
Party
game.
No.
Yeah.
That's the second time we've had the same one.
Dude, shake
okay,
that. Shake
everyone's we're doing a unanimous veto.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So the
'Cause
dice of destiny
That's
is like
how we do it.
the dice
Hey,
of
dice,
destiny-ish.
We own you.
12. That we have not rolled
12
a 12.
is a puzzle game.
Rally racing game.
Wait. Puzzle game, as in like a yeah. Like
a
Portal.
puzzle game.
Portal would count.
Yeah, Portal's a puzzle game. There's
Hey.
tons of puzzle games.
Okay, we got
Tons.
Well done.
Okay,
12.
puzzle. So
Right
we
out
got a
the
puzzle
gate.
game.
What's this? This is for the 1, 2, 3 is indie. 4, 5, 6 is AAA.
AAA. So a big studio.
Okay.
AAA.
AAA.
AAA
Or indie.
Or indie.
or indie. Yeah, just 4, 5, 6 really anything.
Now we're gonna roll for the amount.
the
game
amount you can
cost.
spend.
That's right.
Yeah. So this is just a max, like a
Yeah.
cap. 4.
4. So you can
40
spend
bucks.
$40 on this.
So
Okay.
a $40 any $40 puzzle game in the world.
That's pretty much any puzzle game.
Yeah.
All right. So
$40 or less. I'm sorry, you
Now,
do not have to spend
where
40.
it really matters.
Spencer will be 1 and 2. I'll be 3 and 4. JD's 5 and 6.
Let's do it.
Come on, baby.
Hey,
That's
that?
me.
That's you.
Yes, I get to play.
Peterson.
Peterson gets a
Peterson wins.
puzzle game.
Peter
Always.
Puzzler.
Dude, I may have just
Puzzlerson.
purchased
Do you have one in mind?
too. I don't know, but I need to look to see if it classifies as a puzzle game. So I will play, and
Now keep in mind, you've tried to shoehorn dating sim into other categories before. Dating sim FPS.
I gotta see if this
dating
dating
sim horror game.
This dating game made me puzzle my existence.
That's right.
I
That's
guarantee
exactly
there's
right.
a puzzle dating sim. I guarantee. I'm not gonna play it. I'm not. I'm not.
dating Simerson. So just keep in mind,
want-
puzzle
What do we
first,
have
then
for
dating
time?
sim later.
All right. Well, we will save that. We gotta talk about our 3-bit championship next week.
We gotta talk about the 3-bit championship.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that next week. All right, guys. Well, that does it for us this week.
This week.
Excellent.
Not a question.
This week. And to play us out, hope to God I can find the music from 40 Winks.
Oh, from 40 Winks.
I might have to go
None of
Back
you will
to
recognize
Kickstarter.
this.
back to Kickstarter. No, I might. Yeah, you guys will recognize this. You guys love 40 Winks.
The unreleased N64 stepchild.
Classic.
Yeah.
You said it wrong.
40 Winks. Make it happen.
Wait every day for this.
All right, guys. Make sure if you do listen to us on iTunes or Google Play, just grab your phone right now. Make sure, double check that you're subscribed to the podcast. That's awesome.
Grab your significant other's phone. Make sure they're subscribed. Grab your parents' phone. Grab
Like
your
if there's
kid's phone.
if like one of your coworkers goes to the bathroom and leaves their phone on their desk, quick
do
grab.
them a favor.
Quick,
do them a
quick
favor.
subscribe.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
We give it back. I give it back.
Yeah, we'll
obviously.
give it back so they can listen
If
to
you
our
want.
podcast.
If you want, give it back. I don't care.
3-Bit Gamer Show is a production of Broadway Media. Mike Weist wrote our theme music, and our producer, Dylan Allred, did everything else. I'm JD, logging off.
This is Peterson going AFK.
Spencer deciding if I want to turn my office into a studio.